Is Jenova the primary antagonist? Analysing Jenova and Sephiroth in the original Final Fantasy VII game. But before we can answer that question, we need to thoroughly understand Jenova and her abilities, how she operates and what she is capable of. Jenova, in Introduction. So let's establish some facts. In the recordings with Ifalna, she states that Jenova would appear to the Cetra as their dead loved ones. It looked like our dead mothers and our dead brothers, showing us spectres of their past. It first approached as a friend, deceived them, and finally gave them the virus. The Cetra were attacked by the virus and went mad, transforming into monsters. You see, as long as Jenova exists, the planet will never be able to fully heal itself, and, even though Jenova is confined, it could come back to life at some time. The planet has not fully healed itself yet. It's keeping watch on Jenova. So this is what I gained from the records. Jenova is capable of shape-shifting and appearing as multiple different people of any gender, can turn people into monsters and turn them against their own people, and is capable of showing spectres of a person's past. This implies she can read into memories and create illusions based on what she finds. Further confirmation of that is found when Jenova, in the guise of Sephiroth, is showing Cloud the truth of the events that took place at Nibelheim, a spectre of the past no less, and says to Cloud in the northern crater that the ability to change one's looks, voice, and words is the power of Jenova, which in a funny way confirms that the Sephiroth we are speaking to is actually Jenova. While Sephiroth and Cloud are infused with Jenova cells, neither of them have independently been able to conjure spectres of the past or show illusions. This only seems to occur if Jenova herself is nearby or involved in some way, meaning these powers do exist, but can probably only be wielded by Jenova herself and at best acted through those carrying her cells. So equipped with all of this lore and information on Jenova, let us run through the events that occur in the game regarding her and Sephiroth. Sephiroth, an introduction. First, let's get a look at Sephiroth's character prior to meeting Jenova. Our first order of business is to look at the few scenes we have available prior to Sephiroth entering the reactor. We'll start right from the beginning. When Cloud and Sephiroth are traveling to Nibelheim, there are a few specific moments we will be looking at, namely where Sephiroth reveals something about his character to the player. Cloud: Nibelheim, that is where I am from. Sephiroth: hometown. The vehicle they are in gets interrupted, and after confronting the dragon, they continue. Upon entering Nibelheim, Sephiroth: how does it feel? It's your first time back to your hometown in a long time, right? So how does it feel? I wouldn't know because I don't have a hometown. Cloud: how about your parents? Sephiroth: my mother is Jenova. She died right after she gave birth to me. My father... What does it matter? Alright, let's go. Although he tries to laugh it off, clearly this is something that matters to Sephiroth. Many people find their sense of identity through their family or community. But Sephiroth has neither of these things. His sense of identity was shaped growing up in Shinra. The basis for who he is as a person is serving this company. All of his social interactions, his entire development as a person, happened under the eyes of Shinra scientists. In a way, this makes Sephiroth a very vulnerable character, as his entire sense of self is based upon his relationship to this company. Now imagine what would happen if the company he trusted and had grown up in turned out to lie to him about everything regarding his parents, his birth, and identity. Continuing with the dialogue, Sephiroth: all we need is one lookout, so you others get some rest. Oh, and you may visit your family and friends. This is a small act of thoughtfulness and care, which gives us some clarity to his character. He is not completely cold and ignorant of human sentiments and needs, although later one of the Shinra soldiers falls off the bridge, and Sephiroth says that although it may seem cruel, they cannot go back and must focus on moving forward, showing us that ultimately it is the mission that matters to him. This will be very important for what happens later. Continuing with the dialogue. When the team discovers a Mako spring and see materia growing out of it, Sephiroth gives an explanation for how materia works. Once he is done explaining, Cloud says, "Magic, a mysterious power." Sephiroth starts laughing, and Cloud says, "Did I say something funny?" A man once told me never to use unscientific terms like mysterious power. It shouldn't even be called magic. I still remember how angry he was. Cloud, who was that? Sephiroth. Hojo of Shinra Incorporated, an inexperienced man assigned to take over the work of a great scientist. He was a walking mass of complexes. In this scene, it highlights Sephiroth's disdain for Hojo. He was an inferior scientist compared to his predecessor, and was a walking mass of complexes. I interpret this to mean that in the eyes of Sephiroth, Hojo was an egocentric, mediocre scientist, someone for whom he personally disdained. What is important to note is how he compares him to his predecessor, Professor Gast, as that is the great scientist he is referring to. It appears he holds him in high regard. Unfortunately, this is the limit of what we have available of normal Sephiroth, so let's take a look at what we have observed. Overall, I would say he is thoughtful, formal, reserved, and does have some sensitivity to the emotional needs of his underlings, but ultimately he is driven by duty and he is goal-orientated, making him the perfect soldier, able to balance being a thoughtful leader, sensitive to those under his wing, and yet staying dedicated to the mission above all else. He is not by any means a bad person, but his commitment to his mission, whatever it may be, will be the subject of what happens next. Jenova, metastasis. I suspect that Jenova reached out to Sephiroth when he entered the reactor at Nibelheim. Likely because she could sense his strength and the Jenova cells within him, this connection caused her to awake, and she started reaching out to his mind. What she probably found was her perfect servant. Not only was he immensely strong, but she would have detected his dedication to his duties and responsibilities. His personality coupled with his strength would make him an invaluable tool. When Sephiroth enters the reactor and discovers the experiments within, we see some interesting dialogue and scenes. By the way, I know it is actually Zack in these scenes as we find out later, but at the time the story has been explained, Cloud does not know that yet. Also, it's very disorientating to say Cloud when on the screen we see... it's very disorientating to say Zack when on the screen we see Cloud, so I'm just going to say Cloud said, and so on, instead of Zack said. Sephiroth, now I see, Hojo, but doing this will never put you on the same level as Professor Gast. Sephiroth then goes on to explain to Cloud that these pods in normal circumstances are used to produce materia, but that Hojo puts something else in them as well. Humans. He goes on. Sephiroth, normal members of Soldier are humans that have been showered by Mako. You're different from the others, but still human. But what are they? They've been exposed to a far higher degree of Mako than you. Cloud, is this some kind of monster? Sephiroth, exactly, and it's Hojo of Shinra that produced these monsters, mutated living organisms produced by Mako energy. That's what these monsters really are. Cloud, normal members of Soldier, you mean you're different? This, and this right here, is the exact moment Sephiroth's faith in his humanity begins to shatter. When Cloud makes this comment, it causes Sephiroth to question his humanity, and he grabs his head in pain. You know who else does that? Cloud, when he sees Jenova's body in Hojo's lab, and later that same night it goes on a rampage, killing everyone. You could interpret it as her whispering into Sephiroth's head, planting thoughts into it, encouraging his mental breakdown. Cloud, hey Sephiroth. Sephiroth, no, was I created this way too? He then has a violent outburst. Am I the same as all these monsters? Sephiroth, you saw it, all of them were humans. Human? No way! Ever since I was small, I felt that I was different from the others, special in some way, but not like this. And at that exact moment, one of the pods gets shocked by electricity and pops open, the monster inside flailing out onto the fallen pod door. The screen goes black, with the words, "Am I human?" Think from Sephiroth's perspective, based on what we know. He was basically raised by Shinra and by its scientists. Sephiroth has spent his entire life in service to this company. He is beloved by the people of the world, and is the poster child for Soldier. His entire identity revolves around his life in Shinra. Now imagine how finding out all of that was predicated on a lie. People he may have trusted and looked up to, such as Professor Gast, lied to him. Everybody, probably at some point in the science department, lied to him about who he truly was, his true origins, everything. His entire self-concept is therefore, in his mind, predicated on lies. Now think of his personality, the perfect soldier who always prioritizes the mission to find out that it was all in service to an organization that lied to and deceived him. This triggers a desperate need for the truth, to find out who he really is. A vulnerable mental and emotional state. Sephiroth then spends days reading everything in the Shinra Mansion's basement, ceaselessly and without resting. When Cloud comes to check up on him, he walks in on him reading one of the books aloud. Sephiroth. An apparently dead organism was found in a 2,000-year-old geological stratum. Professor Gast named that organism Jenova. Jenova confirmed to be an ancient. Jenova project approved. The use of Mako 1 reactor approved for use. My mother's name is Jenova. Jenova project. Is this just a coincidence? Professor Gast, why didn't you tell me anything? Why did you die? It appears that Sephiroth not only looked up to Gast as a brilliant scientist, but he also seems to actually miss him. In fact, it really looks like Professor Gast was some sort of father figure to Sephiroth, someone he trusted and respected. After Cloud, Zack, tries to interact with him, Sephiroth merely asks to be left alone. Cloud comments on the story, Sephiroth did not come out of the Shinra Mansion. He continued to read as if he were possessed by something, and not once did the light in the basement go out. A man possessed indeed. When we return again to check up on Sephiroth, his behavior has changed completely. Sephiroth. Who is it? Traitor. Cloud. Traitor? Sephiroth. You ignorant traitor, I'll tell you. This planet originally belonged to the Cetra, an itinerant race. They would migrate in, settle the planet, then move on. At the end of their long, hard journey, it was said they would find the Promised Land and supreme happiness. But those who disliked journeying appeared. They stopped their migrations, built shelters, and elected to lead an easier life. They took that which the Cetra and the planet had made without giving back one whit in return. Those are your ancestors. Cloud. Sephiroth. Sephiroth. Long ago, disaster struck the planet. Your ancestors escaped. They survived because they hid. The planet was saved by sacrificing the Cetra. After that, your ancestors continued to multiply. Now all that's left of the Cetra is in these reports. Cloud. What does that have to do with you? Sephiroth. Don't you see? An ancient named Jenova was found in a 2,000-year-old geological stratum, the Jenova project. The Jenova project wanted to produce people with the powers of the ancients, or the Cetra. I am what was produced. Cloud. Produced? Sephiroth. Yes. Professor Gast, leader of the Jenova project and genius scientist, produced me. Cloud. How did he? Sephiroth? Sephiroth, out of my way. I'm going to see my mother. Sephiroth then proceeds to kill the residents and burn down the town of Nibelheim, having gone insane and fully detached from reality. After that, he goes up to the reactor on Mount Nibel. As we pursue him, we find Tifa's father dead, with Tifa grieving over his dead body. We find Sephiroth in the reactor, at the door to Jenova's chamber, and he says, Mother, I'm here to see you. Please open this door. Tifa then runs up behind him, carrying his sword. However, Sephiroth cuts off her attack, throws her off him, and slices at her chest. She collapses to the ground. He turns around, and the door, in one of the creepiest moments of the game, opens. It reveals that Jenova is conscious, and has actively been participating in these events the entire time. After Sinta Tifa, Cloud chases after Sephiroth. Sephiroth then declares to his mother that he has an idea to take the planet back together and to go to the Promised Land. Cloud confronts Sephiroth for what he has done to his hometown. Sephiroth simply laughs and goes on. With her superior power, knowledge, and magic, Mother was destined to become the ruler of this planet. But they, those worthless creatures, are stealing the planet from Mother, but now I'm here with you, so don't worry. He then rips off the doll in front of her tank, and sees his mother. The body of Jenova is smiling, and her eye is glowing purple. Cloud confronts Sephiroth again, but what about my sadness, my family and friends? The sadness of having my hometown taken from me. It's the same as your sadness. Sephiroth responds, my sadness? What do I have to be sad about? I am the chosen one, and I have been chosen to be the leader of this planet. I have orders to take the planet back from you stupid people for the Cetra. What should I be sad about? Cloud, Sephiroth, I trusted you. No, you're not the Sephiroth I used to know. Sephiroth, Memories from Outer Space. This here confirms it all. I think it is incredibly telling that he says all of this, as nothing in those research documents would have said anything about the planet being his birthright, or that humanity was responsible for the fall of the Cetra. These are interpretations that are coming from an external source. But furthermore, these claims achieve something psychologically important. They distance him from his connection to humanity. He isn't like those humans turned monsters in the reactor. No, he is something greater. He is the last of the Cetra. His mother was the most powerful being to ever exist. Hell, she was destined to rule this planet. And better yet, it was all thanks to Professor Gast, the man he looked up to, his father figure, the one who produced him. But those humans will pay for their treachery, and he will take back the planet for the Cetra and his mother. What Sephiroth has accomplished here is not only forging a new identity, but a sense of familial connection, a new belonging and a new directive, a new mission, a new purpose. Or should I say, Jenova has achieved this. And from this lens, we can see where the manipulation has come from. Sephiroth had no desire for world domination. In fact, nothing in his personality indicates any ambitious streak or egotism. What we do see is a man focused on his duty and his orders, and by the looks of it, Jenova has issued them. After all, what was her goal after landing on the planet? To take it for herself, to consume it whole. Who knows what exactly happened to his mind while he was obsessing away in the Shinra manor? What twisted manipulations Jenova filled his head with. But after that, the Sephiroth we knew is now completely gone. A new identity has been forged. Sephiroth gets stabbed, and while injured he removes Jenova's head and starts limping off carrying it. I also found it extremely odd he just removes her head. Why did he only take this piece with him? Did she telepathically communicate she would be fine without it, and he just needed a piece of her? Cloud confronts Sephiroth, who then stabs him. Cloud uses the sword in his body to knock Sephiroth, who, holding Jenova's head, falls into the life stream. The next phase. For 5 years, we hear nothing of either Jenova or Sephiroth, until Cloud and the gang enter the Shinra headquarters and encounter the headless Jenova specimen in Hojo's lab. Upon encountering the body, Cloud's head starts ringing and he grasps it in pain, much like Sephiroth did a few years ago. After the gang get caught and detained in the prison cells, Jenova's body breaks out of its enclosure and kills countless people, leaving a trail of bodies. It even leaves Cloud's cell unlocked, and interestingly, it is only his cell that is unlocked, like it was trying to lead him out. No doubt the body detected the Jenova cells within him, and his awareness might have awakened it, and it decided to lead him out for the reunion. The team break out and find Sephiroth's sword, the Masamune, in President Shinra's body. No doubt this was also the work of Jenova, who has decided to take on the guise of Sephiroth. Likely detecting the most important person in Cloud's memory was Sephiroth, It took his form to entice Cloud to follow. Later on the boat, Cloud encounters Jenova's body in the guise of Sephiroth. It says before peering out the ground, "After a long sleep, the time has come." No doubt this is referring to the reunion, and it seems this was triggered when it encountered Cloud. However, it is revealed the body of Jenova does not know who Cloud is, and is confused upon meeting him. Perhaps its memories of the events have not synced up yet, and it only has the fragments of Cloud's memories to go on. After Cloud asks it again what it is speaking about, it flies out of the room and leaves a large tentacle behind, which morphs into Jenova Birth. We see it again at the Temple of the Ancients. After discovering the room with the mural of Meteor on the wall, Cloud calls out Sephiroth, and a hazy double image of Sephiroth appears, and for once it appears we actually get to hear him through Jenova. "So cold, I am always by your side. Come." Clearly this is him speaking to Jenova in the northern crater. His body is cold within the Mako cocoon. Further in the room, we see the body of Jenova again, although it could be Sephiroth speaking. "Splendid, a treasure house of knowledge. Look well." Cloud, at what? At that which adds to the knowledge of, "I am becoming one of the planet." Then Sephiroth speaks again. "Mother, it's almost time. Soon we will become one." It seems that Sephiroth is not only referring to merging of the planet, but Jenova as well. They then reveal their plan to merge with the planet. They will create a giant injury, and when the planet sends its spirit energy to heal it, they will be at the center of that wound, and absorb all of the energy. They will then become a new life form, a new existence, and be reborn as a god to rule over every soul. We can see that the image of Sephiroth is splitting and re-emerging, as if it's two people we are speaking to at the same time. Later on, when Cloud has gained the black materia, Jenova appears again and says she knows where to find the Promised Land. She states she is far superior to the Ancients. She became a traveler of the life stream, and gained the knowledge and wisdom of the Ancients, and gained the knowledge and wisdom of those that came after, and soon she will create the future. Aerith responds, "I won't let you do it, the future is not just yours." To which Jenova laughs and says, "I wonder." Sephiroth's voice fills Cloud's head and tells him to wake up. Cloud then hands over the black materia to Jenova. This is a lot to take in, but I think to understand what is going on here, we have to travel back in time to when Sephiroth fell into the life stream. When Sephiroth fell into the life stream, he did die. However, Jenova's head fell in with him. She would have encountered a serious problem, as the life stream did recognize her as a threat. Perhaps her head fused into Sephiroth's body. This would have turned out to be an advantage, as through her telepathic connection to Sephiroth, she could have learned the life stream's memories. This fused body resurfaced to the northern crater, and Sephiroth's consciousness was able to reattach to his body. At this point, the boundary between Sephiroth and Jenova has become blurry, as now they seem to be sharing a physical form and are telepathically communicating as seen in the Temple of the Ancients. The boundary steadily disappearing as they merge into one. So what about Sephiroth? Why didn't he turn on Jenova after falling into the life stream? Why, when he likely would have learned the truth of her existence? I have several ideas. 1. Perhaps because they're fused in the life stream and the boundaries between them are fading, Sephiroth no longer has a clearly defined sense of self, and now has become Jenova, and will focus on carrying out her will as if it was his own. 2. It could be in the Shinra basement Jenova was not directly speaking to Sephiroth, at least not at first. More likely she was nudging and pulling his thoughts in directions that would be favourable to her, and so when he discovers she is not an ancient in the life stream, it does not feel like she lied or was untruthful to him. The scientists were merely mistaken. She didn't lie after all, but then why love the apocalypse? Maybe because it gave him a new meaning and identity, and promised to make him a god to rule side by side with. Perhaps Jenova decided to take on the role of mother to Sephiroth, something he never had and would ensure his loyalty. 3. It might be Sephiroth's consciousness has been damaged by Mako poisoning and is not fully aware of what is going on, being led by the hand, or tentacle, of Jenova. After all, to most people, so much exposure to Mako could kill them, and if they're lucky, they will just be a vegetable. Even Cloud experiences this when he falls into the life stream of the northern crater, only recovering when Tifa helps him reconstruct his memories. 4. Sephiroth's memory is being suppressed and controlled by Jenova, and her will is dominant and in control, only giving him part of the picture and not the whole truth, and he has been held in a fugue-like state. 5. It could be all of the above to varying degrees. This also might explain why the reunion is being brought to Sephiroth, as he has fused with Jenova's head, and is the only part of her that cannot move and is immobile. On top of that, the black materia needs to go to the northern crater in order to be used anyways, due to there being so much of the life stream present on the surface. Later on, in the City of the Ancients, Jenova appears to us again and kills Aerith, and goes on in the guise of Sephiroth, telling Cloud to not worry, as soon she will become part of the planet's energy, and she will fuse with the planet as with the girl. After Cloud interrupts her grandiose monologue, expressing his pain and grief at Aerith's passing, she replies, "What are you saying? Are you trying to tell me you have feelings now?" Cloud, "Of course, what do you think I am?" Jenova, "Ha ha ha. Stop acting as if you're sad. And there is no need to act as if you are angry either. Because, Cloud, you are..." She then leaves one of her tentacles behind again, which becomes Jenova Life, ironic considering the circumstances, but after you defeat it, she completes her sentence. And for the first time in the entire game, Jenova speaks directly to Cloud. It is the only time her name ever appears next to the text. Because you are a puppet. Later at the northern crater, a voice is heard in Cloud's mind. Our purpose is to deliver the black materia to our master, those who carry Jenova's cells. Of course, Sephiroth. It's hard to say if this is him repeating his orders back to himself that have been left there by Jenova, or if Jenova or Sephiroth are trying to pull him to them. Then Jenova creates an illusion of Cloud's past at Nibelheim, and confronts him with the fact his memories are incomplete, and is trying to deceive him into thinking he is not the real Cloud, and only showing him the memories of Zack that he mistook for his own, and hiding the fact he was actually there. But we will only learn this later in the story when Tifa helps Cloud untangle his memories in the life stream. After destroying his identity and convincing him he is not who he thinks he is, a classic of hers, she weakens his will enough to possess him and get him to hand over the black materia to Sephiroth in the Mako cocoon. So let's analyze what we have observed. So far, all of this has Jenova written all over it. It is totally her MO. She tricks and deceives people into doing her bidding, taking on the forms of others, creating illusions from the past, and she even speaks to our protagonist directly, calling him a puppet. While it appears there is a fragment of Sephiroth remaining, which occasionally seems to speak to Jenova, such as in the Temple of the Ancients. In fact, it seems that the two of them are merging into one entity. As mentioned earlier, Jenova's head fell with Sephiroth into the life stream, and likely merged with him. And to quote Sephiroth directly, Sephiroth to Jenova, "Mother, it's almost time. Soon, we will become one." By the sounds of it, this is the actual Sephiroth speaking, the one who died in Nibelheim. It seems he is speaking about the reunion. Perhaps in order for Jenova and Sephiroth to become whole, Jenova must have her reunion so that all of her body is reunited with itself, and only then can she merge with Sephiroth fully. When we fight her again at the northern crater, her final form is Jenova Synthesis, or you could also interpret this as Jenova Complete, indicating she is now whole. Once she has been defeated, we have our first boss fight with the actual body of Sephiroth, and the first form it takes is Bizarro Sephiroth, with Birth of a God playing in the background. The boss is a two-headed manifestation of Jenova and Sephiroth. It is important to keep in mind that Jenova is neither male nor female, as she is actually an it, and it is a genderless shapeshifter. The mergence with the complete Jenova has begun. After that, we fight Safer Sephiroth. The mergence is complete, for God is now fully formed. And now their final goal is mergence with the planet. In conclusion, my overarching analysis of these events is that Sephiroth was an ordinary human at heart, needing all the things that any other human needs: connection and meaning. But since he was lacking most of this growing up, it created a wound in him, a wound that could be taken advantage of. When he enters the reactor, his Jenova cells in the presence of Jenova awakens her. She then starts reading his mind and pulling his strings, reshaping his sense of identity, helping him to disconnect from his humanity, and giving him a new identity as the last of the ancients, to be the planet's chosen one. Literally, the song that plays when Nibelheim is being burned down by Sephiroth is called Those Chosen by the Planet. However, in this case, it is actually Jenova who has chosen him. She helped him dehumanize himself, so that he could treat humanity like the monsters, like the endless monsters he had slain. Now that she had her perfect tool, she sets him against the townspeople on a mission for her, likely to finish the job of severing his connection to his own humanity. When he goes to meet her in person and is defeated by Cloud and thrown into the lifestream, Jenova's head ends up having to merge with Sephiroth, and uses his connection to the planet as a human, since he is still born from the planet's energy, to learn everything she can. This ends up preserving Sephiroth, and his fragmented mind lives on in the cocoon in the northern crater, the last of who he is as a person, merging with Jenova, creating a new entity, which the team takes down, and the final fragment of Sephiroth's consciousness is banished by Cloud. In short, I personally believe Jenova to be the main antagonist, as she is the one who sets all the events in motion, manipulates everyone to do her bidding, in one way or another, and what is left of Sephiroth's mind after Nibelheim is a fragment of his former self, an identity she had created. In Cloud's final fight with Sephiroth, the bare-chested human Sephiroth, it's hard to tell if this is him fighting Sephiroth's consciousness in the livestream, his memory of Sephiroth, or his connection to Sephiroth in his mind, the same connection that allowed Jenova and Sephiroth to possess and control him. It could be interpreted as him vanquishing Sephiroth once and for all from his consciousness and becoming free of him. Well, that's the video. I have been working on it like a man possessed, so to speak. Ha ha ha. I have no doubt that people will be hounding my interpretation with some of their own. But that is what makes this fun. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a like, and let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Thanks for watching.